find out more about the Scouts after we say hello to our sterling panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Bill Cullen, Peggy Alda, and Carlisle.
Sterling-looking bunch of kids, right?
Yeah.
Good bunch of kids. Bill and Al, no, that would be a dull question. Kitty, were you ever a Boy Scout?
No, my daughter was a brownie.
Was she a brownie?
Yeah.
I was Girl Scout.
Were you a Girl Scout?
Yep.
I got as far as the Cubs, then I flunked the physical. That's about as far as I could do.
My mother
Well,
was some brownie.
The Scouts of today, the Scouts of today are much different from the Scouts of yesteryear, as you will learn in a moment. I've got here 2 handbooks I'd like to show you. Now, this was the cover on the first handbook, and it was printed in the year 1911. And in it, there is great emphasis on woodcraft and campcraft and first aid and life-saving and how to stop a runaway horse.
Oh, that's...
Was one of the handy hints. Now, here is the new Scout Handbook, and although it contains many of the subjects that are found in the original, there's much in here that is new. There is a section on conservation, alcohol and its abuse is discussed, and to win a merit badge, you can actually choose computers.
Is it true that this new handbook is so modernized there's a centerfold? With a brownie of the month? Or...
I haven't gone quite that far. I just looked at the centerfold, and it's a lizard.
That sounds a lot like the old handbook.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's meet the man who updated the Scouts Handbook for the 1970s.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Fritz Hines.
Number 2.
My name is Fritz Hines.
Number 3.
My name is Fritz Hines.
And it's hard to believe, but 2 of them are lying. All right, here is the story of Fritz Hines, and it goes like this. I, Fritz Hines, am the executive editor of the Boy Scouts of America. The needs and concerns of today's youth have changed dramatically in the last decade. Thus, it was vitally important that the Scouts keep abreast of the times. Accordingly, I have rewritten their traditional handbook to make it relevant to today's America. Gone from the book are such subjects as map making, signaling, tracking, trailing, and stalking, and flint and steel fire starting. In their place, the Scout finds vital information on drugs and drug abuse, increased emphasis on the importance of strong family relationships, and pertinent information on city scouting, ecology, and pollution. Today, more than ever, scouting...
The accepted uniform of the Scoutmaster today?
Today it is, that's correct.
Number 1, when you brought about this change in the book, what caused the change? I mean, the fact that the kids were no longer interested in the old handbook?
Well, I don't think it was that, Bill. We've revised the book 8 times since it was originally produced in 1911. And this, of course, is a change. We felt as though we needed the change, and that's why we did it.
Now, number 2, you mentioned there's no more map making and fire starting and living out in the wilds. Does that indicate to us, am I correct in imagining that you don't have field trips? They're not as important as they once were when I was a kid?
No, that's not right.
But you do have field trips?
Oh, yes, yes.
And that takes us, please, to Peggy.
Number 3, what is the slogan of the Boy Scouts?
The slogan of the Boy Scouts is "Be Prepared."
Thank you. Now, number 1, if you've done away with the map-making, signaling, tracking, trailing, stalking, flint and steel, fire starting, what do you give for merit badges in their place? Clean needles?
No, we don't have one for clean needles. But we have one for space exploration, one for atomic energy, one for community involvement, things like that.
Well, number 2, why do away with map making? I mean, if a kid lives in New York City, map making could be very good. This isn't such an easy city to get around in, and you could make maps of subways and have a grand time map making.
We agree. We didn't do away with map reading. We did away with map making.
Well, if they can read them, why can't they make them? I mean, I don't understand why should other people make them?
And there goes
Get
the
those
bus,
kids
sir.
out of
And
bed
that
and
takes
on
us
their
on to Al and Alda.
And number 1, I'd like to arrange an Indian wrestling match between you and Peggy. Number 1, did you get any professional help, say, from sociologists and psychologists in revising this book?
We got so much help in revising the book. Yes, we did.
You got it from professionals?
From professionals in the, and also our own board of directors and people like that who are hep on a lot of things.
Number 2, were you a Boy Scout yourself?
Yes, sir.
Number 3, can you tell me how you plan to channel Boy Scouting into helping the ecology movement in, say, regard to pollution, that kind of thing?
Well, I think it's pointing out some of the weaknesses insofar as some of the current ecological offenders. We have geared a good many of our efforts towards the pulp and paper manufacturers, particularly in here.
Thank you, and that takes us to Kitty, please.
Thank you. Number 3, I don't see what's wrong with learning how to stop a runaway horse. It sure helped Horatio Alger.
Well, that's very true. It was just dropped as being out of the tune of the times, I suppose one might say.
Thank you. Number 2, who was Dan Beard?
He was an old-time leader in scouting way back.
And thank you. Number 1, who was Baden Powell?
He was the founder of the Boy Scouts in England.
Thank you. Number 2, what is the saying that the Boy Scouts have, about being clean and reverent? Would you recite it for us? It's so attractive.
Scouting rounds a guy out? Is that what
No.
you mean?
Number 3, do you know what I mean? You have to be clean, reverent.
Oh, well, Kitty, you weren't out here at the top of the show, naturally. And so the scouts who were out here recited that
I
whole
see. Oh,
code.
thank you. I'm sorry. I would have loved to have heard it.
I'll do it for you right after the show. Meanwhile, we must mark our ballots. Well, while you're marking your ballots, the audience and I are going to take a look, and we'll look at number 1, and number 2, and number 3. The penalties are $50 for each wrong vote, $500 if nobody comes up with the right gentleman, and the voting starts with Bill Cullen.
Yeah, it's very difficult because, I don't know, just number 1 has the look of, he looks like he's responsible for all those Boy Scouts out there, and his day's not finished. Got to get him home.
We got a 1 showing, and Peggy.
You know what? I thought number 1 would look like a New York cop.
Oh?
To me, he doesn't look like a Boy Scout leader. And number 2 has a crew cut, and that's not a sign of the times. I mean, so I didn't vote for him. So I voted for number 3.
Okay, we got them on both ends, a 1 and a 3. All the looking
It's hard to
puzzles.
say why, but from the first minute he came out, I thought looked like he really meant his name was Fritz Hines. That's really just going on almost to the questions made me think number 1 was it.
Number 1 is truthful, loyal, courteous.
Yes,
kind,
that's right.
and
He
all
looked
those
very
things.
courteous. Yeah.
Kitty.
Well, I think it's really number 3. I didn't vote for number 2 because he's got a crew cut, and I think maybe he's a Marine. But I voted for number 1.
Okay,
But
we've
you think-
got it split right down the middle. And so at this point, with the votes all in, and with a triumphant smile on his face, will the real Fritz Hines please stand up? $500 is what it costs us because we stumped the panel totally. And number 1, sir, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Bob Mackin. I'm the public.
Of course, they split the 500 to the World Friendship Fund of the Boy Scouts of America, and of course that shall be done. And Mr. Hines, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen.